guys, my name is Diana Garcia. I'm a licensed mental health counselor in South Florida and founder of Nurturing Minds Counseling, a private practice in South Florida. All right, so I've been doing 12 days of tips for the holidays. We did a 3-minute breathing space, and yesterday we talked about knowing and identifying our triggers for the holiday season. And today we're going to be talking about really knowing what are the thoughts, or a lot of times what I like to call it, the stories that come up in relation to the triggers. Okay, so what do I mean by that? So we talked about knowing a trigger. So a very common trigger, I'm going to use an example of, let's say I have a family gathering, right? And for some reason, maybe I don't get along with someone in my family, maybe I have an annoying aunt, right? And so I've recognized that that's a trigger for me, right? And so the story, the thought is, what's the thought about that situation that really becomes difficult, right? So is the story, gosh, my aunt, she's so mean, she's so horrible, she's so rude, right? And that's why I find it hard to get along. Or is the story, gosh, she's just being critical, she just loves to criticize and put me down? Is that the story that you get caught, or the thoughts that come up? So for today's tip, it's really knowing what's the story related to the trigger. But then now that we know what the story is, one tip to really help to really kind of create some distance from that story, right? Because sometimes whether a story is true or not, maybe your aunt really is trying to be critical, or maybe she just really is trying to be disrespectful. Who knows? Maybe she just really not aware, right? Lacks a complete sense of awareness. Who knows, right? There can be a variety of reasons, but in order to help you move through it and move how you want to engage, or how much you get kind of suckered in by that story, the tip is really kind of giving that story a name. So it's kind of like, a lot of times I tell clients, okay, if that was a chapter in a book, what would that story be? Would it be the annoying aunt story? Would it be critical aunt story? Would it be there she goes again, right? And so just really knowing and acknowledging what that story is and naming it. And you can give it a funny name, right? Or whatever name you want to give it. And so when you notice that you're going in that interaction thinking about that, you can help identify by saying like, oh, there's that annoying aunt story, right? Or there she goes again story getting activated and triggered. Okay, and so why is that helpful? It just helps us to create some distance from that story in our head, so that we don't get so wrapped up into it, right? Because when we can name it and kind of put some distance between us and that story, we can also then decide to figure out what we want to do in terms of our behavior. All right, guys, hope that tip was helpful, and we will continue this series tomorrow with the 4th holiday tip. Thanks, guys.